One thing I've noticed from Sushi VR, Grayson Rodriguez, when he become friends with him again, he is normally a casual guy, but over time his morals and personality corrode and fade away. Like over time he becomes more evil. Even Tuoxphase has seen it. Tuoxphase isn't like that, but he's still an evil piece of shit. Grayson Rodriguez is by far one of the most disturbing characters in the lore. He doesn't give a shit about anybody. He just doesn't have any emotion. Tuoxphase is similar to him in a few ways, but at least Tuoxphase has moral codes that he is loyal to. Sushi VR needs to be stopped as soon as possible. We don't know what he's gonna do next, but he is planning something. Maybe we can team up with Tuoxphase and create an unstoppable force against Sushi VR. Tuoxphase would like that, actually. Because Sushi VR is stealing Tuoxphase's ideas, you know. Since the slut wars are currently going on, Sushi VR may have the upper hand, but he recently exposed his weak points and we have to take action. Tuoxphase and Corey have come up with the alliance for now. Both sent their best agents into Grayson's base in Virginia. Let's hope they find something that is really useful. It's crazy that Sushi VR thinks he can take out Tuoxphase and Corey. But we know Sushi VR is gonna fail. I'll give him some credit because he's trying either way. Tuoxphase is planning a full-scale invasion into Virginia. Corey is planning on sending his army there too. However, Corey thinks Tuoxphase's strategy is dumb, because Tuoxphase might lose a lot of his troops in the first week of the invasion. Corey's strategy is different. Corey is gonna send paratroopers and have lots of aircraft. Tuoxphase couldn't even have thought of that. Sushi VR's defenses are really stronger though, with lots of landmines and artillery. However, he doesn't have any anti-aircraft weapons. That's why Corey sends his paratroopers and aircraft in. Tuoxphase is gonna send his troops in convoys, but Sushi VR's soldiers is gonna shell them out. It's stupid and pointless. Tuoxphase is one dumb son of a bitch. Corey is also planning on using his nuclear arsenal on Virginia too. But Tuoxphase disagrees with Corey. Sure, maybe sending in nukes to Virginia is a good plan, however. We lose out on so many information from the sluts that Sushi VR has. Maybe he will flee to Sierra Leone with his sluts in the back seat. Corey is gonna form a blockade around Sierra Leone so Sushi VR can't get there. Tuoxphase is also gonna use his navy to bombard the fuck out of Virginia, so Sushi VR's army is gonna get a lot of pressure put on them. These are some good plans. We'll see you next time. Sushi VR, also known as Grayson Rodriguez, is one of those people that just should not exist in the timeline. He ignores everything anyone says insane stuff just to get a reaction, and then blames everyone else when it inevitably backfires. After the Epstein scandal was made public, after everyone knew exactly how wrong it was, he tried to email Jeffrey Epstein. When questioned, he sends a screenshot as proof, claiming his email was hidden with a white highlighter. To the naked eye, it looked covered. It wasn't. Using advanced image manipulation, contrast adjustment, and frankly, way more effort than this situation deserved, Jaden and Bugsy Brown extracted the text from beneath the highlight. The sender address was fully intact. The lie collapsed immediately. That's the pattern. Do something insane. Pretend it didn't happen. Act shocked when reality catches up. He's not dangerous. He's not strategic. He's just loud, persistent, and allergic to accountability. Ignore him long enough and he stops functioning.
Toastface and Sushi VR has caused too much problems already in this world.
They have caused too much suffering and destruction. Toastface specifically causing climate change and poverty across the globe, and Sushi VR causing pandemics and extinction of animals. Toastface is a piece of shit. Sushi VR is a piece of shit. Both of them have worked together to make Earth this horrible place to live at. So many humans have been killed and injured. Sushi VR's plans with Earth is to be in a relationship with every girl in the world, while Toastface's plans are more catastrophic. His plans is to take over the world and enslave everybody to work for him. Toastface is definitely the far more worst antagonist. Corey has plans to stop them both, but it requires a lot of time and planning. Corey sends messages into the radio frequency across the globe, reached other characters like Bob Knudsen, Nathaniel B., who are from the California campaign, Andrea Isich, who is from the European campaign, and much more characters from the lore. However, some would get injured and some sadly will be killed along the way, but their sacrifice will not be in vain. Toastface mostly takes out the supporting characters with his elite skills and elite army that he has. Toastface's army is one hell of an army. However, Toastface has poor morale in his army, because Toastface doesn't really have any good relationships with them. Toastface needs to step that up. He needs to bond with them. However, Sushi VR's army, on the other hand, is way more stable. But he's only got good relations with the women in his army, because his bitch ass is a simp. Sushi VR has a lot of sluts in his army too, probably inspired by Jeffrey Epstein or P. Diddy. However, Corey's military is way different, having a better morale and good relations with his soldiers, with a huge brotherhood and sisterhood. Toastface's weaponry and technology is probably the best in history. However, in the later chapters of the lore, Corey produces better technology and weapons than Toastface. Sushi VR has the worst technology and weapons because he uses Cold War era weapons and vehicles, mostly from the Soviet Union. Toastface's history started in Vietnam, but where he started becoming a bad person is during the Vietnam War, when the Americans invaded his country. Toastface didn't mind the Soviets or Americans' influences during the Cold War, however. Toastface hated both the Soviet Union and the United States. Toastface just wanted to live his life, but the world didn't want him to. It's sad to be honest. Poor Toastface. But Sushi VR is way different. He started off pure evil in the state of Virginia in the United States, often influenced by the cartels in Mexico. He started his evil work at a young age. We don't know why he did this. But Sushi VR has also faced bullying and harassment by the whole world. Same as Toastface. Sometimes I think they are just broken and not pure evil. They were just trying to live life, but the world didn't want that. Maybe the world is the...
Despite Sushi VR being a gay-ass piece of shit, he's way more annoying than 2-Ox Phase. No wonder why Sushi VR is the worst antagonist. 2-Ox Phase's army is 100 times more better than Sushi VR's military too. Sushi VR still uses Cold War era vehicles. Meanwhile, 2-Ox Phase uses high-tech weapons and vehicles. Sushi VR is one of the dumbest antagonists too. He can't even manage his own territory and army. 2-Ox Phase is the best main antagonist in the lore, having a rich background and has a good moral code. He doesn't kill innocent people, he only brainwashes them. 2-Ox Phase is by far way more powerful and interesting than Sushi VR. Sushi VR even dies from a STD from one of the girls he did the dirty with. 2-Ox Phase has a badass end of his life, putting up a good last fight against Corey's military, being shot up from all sides. Corey has a similar fate too. But 2-Ox Phase, maybe Grayson Rodriguez was a good person at one point.
But I don't think that's true. He was always evil. He was always a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve a life sentence on Alcatraz Island. He deserves death, but it's hard to kill him. He has a lot of sluts protecting him. Even 2-Ox Phase finds it challenging to kill him. 2-Ox Phase's agents struggled trying to sneak into Grayson's base. It is really hard to send his agents into the buildings. The sluts he has on guard are Tier 1 shooters. Corey's agency doesn't send his agents into Grayson's base, but he sends in drones or secret cameras in there. 2-Ox Phase couldn't even thought of that. 2-Ox Phase's head of command and generals are dumb as shit. Corey and 2-Ox Phase rarely team up against Grayson Rodriguez. Grayson is one tough son of a bitch because he can hold off against two of the largest organizations in the world. But I personally think he's just really lucky. Grayson's sluts normally do the dirty work for him. Grayson's lazy ass normally eats noodles and naps the whole day away. But 2-Ox Phase works 16 hours a day. He's a hard worker for his people, often inspiring others to be like him. 2-Ox Phase's organization is often considered way more powerful and organized than Grayson Rodriguez's military. However, Corey's organization and military is very intelligent, often causing both powers to fight against each other and trading with both sides to make a lot of money. Corey is one of the smartest characters in the lore. The way that Grayson Rodriguez recruits people is forcing people into his organization, mostly deceiving people into believing they think they get a good life and lots of money at the end. I personally think it's way worse than the way 2-Ox Phase's methods of getting people into his organizations. Corey's recruiting methods is way different, often sending messages into the world. Corey's military treats everyone equally and has a lot of reputation in the world. Corey's army is not as strong as 2-Ox Phase's military, but it's stronger than Grayson's army at least. Grayson Rodriguez normally loses a lot of battles and wars. He cries out loud because of it. He isn't good at fighting in wars. He's only won a few wars, including the Slut Wars. The Slut Wars was a massacre for Corey's and 2-Ox Phase's military because Grayson Rodriguez had a really good strategy. Corey and 2-Ox Phase couldn't stand a chance. They often went on joint operations against Grayson's, but it just wasn't enough. They were getting tired of it all, and then they withdrew their forces and signed a peace treaty. Grayson was really proud of his victory. However, Corey and 2-Oxphase planned a large invasion and took back the land. Then Corey and 2-Oxphase split the land. Corey and 2-Oxphase was good allies for a while. Imagine if they were always allies. Stupid Grayson Rodriguez lost due to his greed and his pride. That's why you don't celebrate so early. Grayson is one of the dumbest antagonists in the lore. No wonder why he's one of the most hated. Stupid. Here are some fun facts about the European protagonist Andrija Isic. 1. He is one of the alternate protagonists to not die at the end of his story. However, he still dies at the end of the world. His death was instant, at least. 2. He once got into a fist fight with Toxphase. Toxphase was doing a full-scale invasion into Serbia until Andrija Isic got into a fist fight with him in close-quarters combat. Andrija Isic put up a good fight against 2-Oxphase. However, 2-Oxphase's troops had to come in and help him. 2-Oxphase doesn't know how to fist fight for shit. If his troops didn't intervene, Andrija Isic could have ended him there, putting an end to the lore. 3. 2-Oxphase would constantly put bounties on Andrija Isic. We don't know why he did that. Andrija Isic is known to have really good defensive techniques, often putting landmines and having a lot of good recon teams in his army. 4. Andrija Isic is known to have really bad anger issues. We don't know why he's like that. My guess is that 2-Oxphase put a lot of stress on his mind and caused a lot of problems with his mental health. So 2-Oxphase is one evil piece of shit for doing that. Like Andrija Isic is known to have a good relationship with Corey and the other allies. It is really hard to send supplies to the Serbian front. 2-Oxphase's troops keep pushing through the blockades that Andrija Isic has set up. Here are some facts about one of the supporting characters, Nathaniel B. 1. Nathaniel B is known to be one of the dumbest supporting characters. However, I don't think that's true. Nathaniel B is the backbone of the California Resistance's army, often making really good battle plans and succeeding. For Nathaniel B was once kidnapped by 2-Oxphase. 2-Oxphase lured him. 2-Oxphase tortured Nathaniel B. Nathaniel B moaned and screamed. 2-Oxphase is an evil cunt. 3. Nathaniel B has an awful death in the lore. He is captured by Sushi VR's sluts and torture him to death. He died from a heart attack. 2-Oxphase felt sad for his death, surprisingly. 2-Oxphase would place bounties on Sushi VR. 4. Nathaniel B is one of the most Christian characters in the lore, often giving everybody a morale boost. He often works with Knutson, another character in the California campaign and a good friend. Both of them give a lot of the supporting characters a huge morale boost. 5. Nathaniel B is one of the only people to get into a gunfight with Sushi VR. Nathaniel B was alongside Corey in 2-Oxphase's invasion of Virginia during the Slut Wars. Nathaniel B saw Sushi VR in the distance while Sushi VR was evacuating. Nathaniel B shot him in the body armor and Sushi VR returned fire. Nathaniel B was using a M27 IAR, while Sushi VR was using a Soviet PPSA-41 submachine gun. Nathaniel B landed more shots into him, hitting him in the leg and arms. Sushi VR's sluts came in to help him. Nathaniel B. was alone, so he had to disengage. Nathaniel B. almost took him out. So Artix Phase saw Nathaniel B.'s act of courage really inspiring. The California campaign is one of the most popular campaigns in the lore. The most popular characters being Bob, Nathaniel B., and Knutson. Coxface is the main antagonist in this campaign, invading California on all sides. It's Bob, Nathaniel B., and Knutson's job to protect California. Corey is supporting them all in California. Sushi VR is supporting Tuoxphase in the war. It's estimated 8 million soldiers die on all sides and 47 million civilians die. Tuoxphase is using his nuclear weapon arsenal for once in this war. Specifically the Tsar Bomba he has obtained from Russia. He used it to bomb Los Angeles. Nuclear fallout went everywhere, reaching Riverside, Elk Grove, and Fortuna. A lot of people would get radiation poisoning. Including Bob, he would get radiation poisoning. He would recover though, thankfully. Knutson would do special operations against Tuoxphase. Knutson would send ex-US Army Rangers and USMC Force Recon units against Tuoxphase. However, Tuoxphase has trained his troops to handle such soldiers like them. Nathaniel B. and Bob are using guerrilla warfare tactics in this war, often making underground tunnels and bunkers. Kinda like how Tuoxphase used those tactics in the Vietnam War. Corey would supply the California resistance. Sushi VR would supply Tuoxphase and give him intel. Sushi VR is a piece of shit, to be honest. Tuoxphase would use white phosphorus to bomb cities across California, giving everybody burns and shit. Tuoxphase needs to fucking die. Andrea Isich is also somewhat supporting the California resistance. Andrea Isich is giving Bob, Nathaniel B. and Knutson his landmines and FPV drones. Here are some facts about Mateo J.C. Campos, whose real name is Bob. Bob is a mixture of races and ethnicities, but he's mostly black and Hispanic, unfortunately. However, Bob can say any racial slur and he won't be canceled for it. That's a huge win for Bob. Bob is sometimes mistaken for being Bob the Builder. Bob gets mad when we call him Bob the Builder. 3. Bob and Tuoxphase have been allies at one point. Bob once bought UZs and Glocks from Tuoxphase. He even befriended Sushi VR too and bought drugs from him. Bob is a great dealer with them, you know. 4. Bob once got into a fist fight with Sushi VR. Bob was beating his ass up and Sushi VR was trying to run away. Sushi VR was crying like a baby. Bob was laughing like a rich man. But Sushi VR's sluts came in and shot Bob in the arm. Bob had to retreat. Bob could have killed Sushi VR then and there. Tuoxphase was even counting on Bob there. 5. Bob would constantly get injured in the lore. He would be the only character to sustain a lot of injuries, and that would make him one of the most durable characters in the lore. Psychic Phase would have some kind of liking towards Bob for some reason. Tuoxphase sees something in him. Bob is unaware of this, though. Sometimes I wish Tuoxphase can give us blessings and other good stuff, but no. He curses us. He makes our lives miserable, but we can manage it. He has all the power to kill everybody. However, I'm the only person that can stop him. I just wish 2-Ox Phase was more peaceful and more wise. Despite his age being in the millions at this point, he still acts like a kid for some reason. So 2-Ox Phase needs to man up someday. He can't stop being like this. Maybe he just needs to get a normal job and maybe he'll fit into society. Shit, even maybe he can buy his own iPad. 2-Ox Phase has the most potential to be one of the best humans in the world, but he is wasting his potential. 2-Ox Phase is a dumb piece of shit. However, we can learn from 2-Ox Phase's mistakes and make it into a learning lesson for all of us. That'll make our lives better in the long run. 2-Ox Phase should be thankful, you know. But I don't think 2-Ox Phase feels any emotions. 2-Ox Phase is an emotionless man. We don't know why he's like that. My guess that he was normal when he was created. Maybe he lost a lot of people in his life and he became disconnected and lost of all his emotions and feelings. We need to help 2-Ox Phase. 2-Ox Phase needs our help. Let's think of a way to fix him.
2-Ox Phase is not alone with his problems.
There's many more people like him in this cruel and fucked up world. 2-Ox Phase. What 2-Ox Phase would do to planet Earth. It's like he has so much power. It's scary. 2-Ox Phase needs to be stopped. 2-Ox Phase needs to die. We need to get some intel, like where he lives, how his army works, and what he does on the daily. 2-Ox Phase is so hard to get intel from, though. He's smart, I'll tell you that. 2-Ox Phase has a weird routine and we can barely track him. Corey's agency has struggles with spying on him. 2-Ox Phase has some kind of cloaking device, or maybe he has multiple clones or something. But shit, that would be scary if there was more than one 2-Ox Phase. 2-Ox Phase is one smart son of a bitch, for fuck's sakes. 2-Ox Phase isn't your average human being. He's a fucking menace, smart man, hiding in the shadows doing evil deeds. 4-Ox Phase has multiple kids too. I don't know what his kids' names are, but let's call them 3-Ox Phase, 4-Ox Phase, 5-Ox Phase, and it goes on. 2-Ox Phase is just, I don't know. I get scared when I talk about him.
2-Ox Phase can be watching us right now through our phone's cameras.
God, please save us all from 2-Ox Phase. 2-Ox Phase.